Can you all hear me? Hello?
Good morning, everybody. Friday. Happy NCAA weekend. Happy total. And we'll get us kicked off by reading the preamble. If all others can mute themselves on the screen, that'd be great. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law in section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conduct its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Recusals from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making comments. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. All users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter submitted through proper channels have been considered. We've also received emails from those who provided written comment on a particular matter. Proper channels for comments are listed below. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the Wednesday 12 p.m. deadline are collected by city planning staff and disseminated to commission members prior to any scheduled meetings. Proper channels for public comments include sending an email to cityplanning@clevelandohio.gov, comment or a letter, calling in or leaving a message at 216-664-2210, sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall. Someone would say that. So a little bit more about meeting rules and procedures for those who may be new to the process. The chair, Chair Curry, will call each agenda item, and then each applicant will be invited to proceed with their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation has concluded, the chair will ask planning staff to summarize the cyber group committee recommendations, any public comments received, and any other relevant information. The deadline for public comments, as we discussed, is noon on Wednesday prior to the regular scheduled commission meeting. Any comments received by the deadline are distributed to commission members prior to the meeting through Dropbox. Staff will also identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then request a recommendation from staff if applicable. The commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any commission member except the chair may make a motion at any point after the agenda item has been called. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Michael, can you call the roll?
Anthony,
Present.
Luker,
Present.
Curry,
Present.
McCray Scott.
She's here.
Denise, can you unmute?
McCray Scott.
I'll give her a sec.
McKnight,
Present.
Sergeant. Slight. Present.
We have a quorum? Okay. You want to see if she You okay? I'm actually trying to log in and having a problem, so she may be too. You got it? All right, we'll go ahead. That's okay. Okay. I couldn't get any of that. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move forward and we'll note when she is online. Good morning, everyone. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the previous meeting, which was March 15th. I was not present, so I'll abstain. We have a copy of the minutes here. We've had them in advance. So any comments or anything from the previous meeting?
Madam Chair, I move to approve minutes as presented.
A motion and a second. Any other comment? Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes. Oh, sorry, abstain. It's just a habit.
McCray Scott. McKnight,
Abstain.
Sledge.
Yes.
Motion carries. I couldn't get in either, so you're gonna, if there are public comment online, will you let me know if
Yes.
anybody raises their hand? I just couldn't get in either. Okay, so first, order of business is a zoning matter. And so, we actually have two zoning matters. So I'm gonna just read the procedure for zoning matters, which are a public hearing. And so first, we will hear a presentation from staff on the proposed rezoning. Second, we will hear the sponsor testimony, and this could be either councilperson, the owner of the property, where applicable. Then we will open it up for public comment, and we will take first those in favor, proponents of the zoning change, and then we will take testimony from those who oppose the zoning change opponent. We ask that you please state your name clearly, and your organization or your address if you're an affected nearby property owner. Please, if you're here in person, fill in the sign-in sheet. You must keep your statements to 3 minutes or less, and please address the chair with your questions or comments. So we will go ahead. The first item is a zoning ordinance. It's an unnumbered ordinance changing the use area height districts of parcels of land north of Lorraine Avenue between West 45th and West 44th Street, and subjecting an area titled Site Development Boundaries Section 333.02. You are not, you are Shannon Leonard. So Shannon, you go ahead. That's what it says.
Good morning, Commission. So this item was tabled in March, the first meeting of March. It is before you again today. Just a few comments before Shannon moves into.
Wait, do we need to remove it from the table then, or did we postpone one?
We postponed it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I used the wrong word.
That's okay.
We postponed it at the last hearing in first week of March. Just a few comments about the siting of this particular project. It is along Lorraine Avenue, which is a priority transit corridor. RTA did announce actually that there may be more investment coming to Lorraine Avenue, spanning multiple municipalities. Right now, the level of housing, according to the FTA, the Federal Transportation Authority, the density does not actually support the high frequency transit that we want to see. This project does increase diversity of housing for this area. We'll also walk through some other precedents of apartment buildings adjacent to two-family structures, as well as how it fits the 2020 citywide plan. Finally, we did hear the request for additional information from the commission because this did not go to the planning commission. This was a landmarks commission item that was reviewed last fall. Dan Musson is the secretary of the landmarks commission. He's available for any comments or questions. And we did include some more of the renderings and street views as you requested. So with that, turn it over to Shannon.
Thank you, Director. Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Planner. So as the director stated, And as you read in the proposal, this is, we do different types of rezonings here when they come from the public. So it could be a project specific, or it could be a strategic rezoning of a bigger area like the Form Use Code. And so this specific one is a project specific, and out of those project specific, we either have a regular rezoning or a site plan specific. The site plan specific rezoning means that there's a little bit more oversight for some of these tougher sites that you'll see across the city that we've done previously. And so it requires a little bit more oversight in terms of the permissions have to be approved. The site plan that goes into the legislation, so everything that is being presented here today, the property owner would have to actually pull a permit and build this, or they'd have to go back through. And so if they do not pull those permits within 6 months to a year, the underlying zoning that is here today will stay, will go back into action. And so just to be clear on that, that whatever you're approving here today for the mixed use residential, that's what has to be built. So nothing else can be built, hotels, things of that nature, it could not be done. And that will be restricted on their occupancy permit when they put those. So the purpose of this rezoning is to allow for infill redevelopment on a tough site. It also requires us to correct the split zoning issue because it does cross multiple parcel lines. Because it is a larger project along the range, it's going to require them to consolidate the lots, which causes a split zoning issue. It allows the proposed development to move forward as approved by Landmarks Commission. It also promotes diversity of housing technologies in alignment with the Connecting Cleveland 2020 plan. And it also supports transit and alternative mobility choices. So as you see here, the current zoning is local retail C2. So local retail C2 means along the properties fronting the Lorraine is a local retail business district. C represents the area district for residential, so you can only use half of the lot size for residential uses. And then 2 represents a height district of 60 feet or basically 5 stories. And then the yellow that you see here is also 2-family residential, and that's with a 35-foot height district. And then there's also a pedestrian retail building. This particular project is in alignment with our future land use map for residential mixed use along the Lorraine, abutting the 2-family residential. And then it's also in line with not just the map, but also the Connecting Cleveland 2020 citywide plan that was adopted in terms of sustainability, connectivity, providing alternative mobility choices, and things of that nature. So the proposed zoning here on this site for this project is limited retail business with a 3-foot setback along West 45th Street. And there's an existing 5-foot setback on West 45th Street. It is between, you'll here see the site here, it is between a gas station and a repair shop on Lorraine. And as along Lorraine, there's a variety of mixed uses. And adjacent to those uses are single family, 2-family, and multi-family uses. So I provided this arrow to give you some more context around Lorraine Avenue and the varying heights that you see. There's buildings ranging from 1 story up to 5 stories along, up and down Lorraine, north and on the east and west. Again, this is another context. So here you'll see the location of the site sits between the frameworks, but basically right here in the middle of the image is where the site is. So you'll see where the site is. Just trying to orient you all to the conditions of Lorraine as well as the surrounding properties. So this is the site itself. This is if you're looking east on West 44, if you're looking southeast at the site, a part of the site here, because it does stretch from Lorraine through West 44th and West 45th Street. Again, this is another image of where the site is. You'll see the red arrows. It is sitting between the gas station and the repair shop. It kind of serving as a buffer between those two to the residential uses. Again, another image of the site here looking along Lorraine Avenue or West 45th Street looking way east. That's where the site will be. And then this is also looking along the existing West 45th Street east. As you can see, there's a vacancy, and then West 45th southeast across the street of single family and 2-family residential. And then just adding the local context that you all requested at the last hearing, the varying heights along Lorraine. When we talk about walkability, we're not just talking about safe streets, but also is it an interesting work? I think the varying heights of buildings make the walk, fairly interesting, make people enjoy walking or biking or using other mobility options along the way. And so this is the approved site plan from Landmarks. And so this is what we're proposing. This actually goes into the legislation. So what is being proposed that was approved at Landmarks has to go into the building permits when this is pulled. And so it's a mix of 3 buildings. I think it's 87 units. And then they adding the drive between West 45th and West 44th to really add that buffer between the buildings themselves as well as the neighboring properties that are single and 2 family. Additionally, you'll notice that the units fronting West 44th and West 45th Street are 34 feet in height. So they're not even maximizing over that 35 height district that is currently existing. And then the large building that has the retail in front, fronting Lorraine, is 50. Again, this is just showing the site plan in more color and giving you a little bit more context of what that looks like. I believe the property owner here is to walk you through any site questions that you may have. Again, it's a tough site, but it's not uncommon as it relates to infill development and the need to expand on parcels that are buffering these major corridors. This is the massing that has been proposed and approved. And again, this would go with the legislation. And all of these elevations go in, and then the occupancy permits are restricted to this. So this is the proposed elevation massing along with the north along the Lorraine and how that would look, and what was approved at Landmarks Commission. This is looking east along West 45th Street, so you can see they're really stepping it down to be more in alignment with the existing residential along the street. Again, this is looking north along Lorraine, understanding the home that is there. And then this is looking northwesterly along Lorraine Avenue and West 44th Street and seeing the different massing and how it fits in within the gas station and repair shop, as well as the existing context along West 44th and West 45th. This is looking northeasterly along Lorraine at West 45th Street. So if you were looking here by the repair shop, this is how this development would look at this location. And this is how the development would look along West 44th. Where they're proposing the smaller units fronting West 44th Street. And as you can see, there's a step down in height as it gets to the single family adjacent. And again, this is the site, this is the street that they were going to be adding between the residential as well as we have the northern 2-family residential, that's single family 2-family homes, and the smaller units fronting West 45th and West 45th. And this is really to allow for residents to have a place to park. It also serves as a buffer between the units. And this is again just some renderings, and the architect, the developer can walk you through that. And then this is building 2, looking at West 45th Street elevation, giving an idea of the context and the height districts. And then this is the northern elevation of building 2. And then just to kind of talk about this a little bit because it came up in a lot of the comments. I just wanted to address them for the commission. And so this is not an uncommon occurrence before you. I've brought several rezonings in the last several years, whether it's site plan specific or just project specific. We're just changing the underlying zoning, but it is for a project. Or when we do site plan specific, which requires a little bit more of that community input and public engagement as it relates to boards and commissions and hearings. And those items under site plan specific. As you'll notice along a lot of corridors around the city where we have retail districts or industrial, institutional and retail districts, we normally abut that with there's residential directly behind it. And that's just how it works across the city, whether you're on East 65th and Superior or whether you're on West 44th and Lorraine. What you notice different here in this image is I'm showing the vacancies that obviously Lorraine has had a lot of investment and development in the last 6 to 7 years. And so there's not as much vacancy abutting Lorraine Avenue as there was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But as you can see, places like East 65th and Superior, and you can see this all across the city where there's vacant lots directly behind our retail corridors. And what happens is when we have new projects come to the city, interested in revitalizing the city, producing investment, and doing rehabilitation of old buildings. They typically need a little bit more lot spaces than our small lots allow, and generally pick up those lots adjoining or abutting those retail corridors to provide for more of a buffer between them and their mixed use and the residential behind them, whether that's through a parking amenity space, dog park, walk, whatever. And so it's not uncommon, this happens all the time. And so just wanted to point out, there was a question asked about, how do you do this? Do you move retail into two-family residential or multi-family residential districts? There are just 5 examples here, but I can provide countless others as to why this happens. And it's really to allow for that redevelopment of our info lots or rehabilitation of older buildings that just need more space for 21st century development and desires. And then, so that's it. This is the proposed zoning to allow for limited retail. It is site plan specific, adopting the site plan with this legislation. As we talk about, just a final thought before I'll let Dan give you the information from Landmarks is that, as a zoning planner, we have to respond to multiple different types of requests. And, when people bring projects before the city to ask to do more, to invest in the community and redevelop it, we have to try to find a way that works, that makes sense, and shepherd them through the due process, to go through the various public hearings. And we think about adding this multifamily residential here along the Lorraine Avenue corridor. It is important that we are meeting the city's goals of, better transit and more amenities to the city to be more walkable. And so I think it's also important to note that, generally speaking, there was a lot of talk about, well, there's no coffee shops or anything like that around. You need people to have more retail and make retail sustainable, as well as transit sustainable. So I think this development in and of itself, it was approved by Landmarks Commission, and so we're trying to walk through this process. And I think the site plan specific zoning is important, so that we ensure that we're presenting here today is what gets filtered.
Thank you. Next, you said, is Landmarks going to speak now?
Yeah, because he could provide the context of the approval.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, yeah. Yeah, so the Cleveland Landmarks Commission and the Ohio City Design Review Committee saw this project in multiple iterations. It's one single building, and then saw that as concept and came to final approval. Ultimately, they redesigned it to the design that you guys see today, which was ultimately approved by the Cleveland Landmarks. So, fully approved.
Thank you. Is there someone here, an applicant or sponsor that is speaking as well?
This is Chad Curtis from My Place Group. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add before we open it up for public comment?
No, I think Ms. Leonard did a really nice job. We had included a package. If you want to just briefly look through it. I mean, the neighborhood as a whole is a mixed use neighborhood. There's buildings, as Ms. Leonard pointed out, that go through this slide. If you go back to that one real quick, we kind of surveyed, I think the third slide, this one, yep. So we surveyed up and down Lorraine, practically from St. Ignatius all the way to 58th. How our building interacts with the two-family zoning code is consistent with everything else. One of the big things too, how we treated the 44th side and 45th side is very much in line with the residential neighborhood. The building that comes off of Lorraine, the larger one, frankly, barely protrudes into the two-family. If you looked at a site map, you'd see the McCafferty Center. It goes much deeper. We try to continue the alleyway system. That sheet right there is all the buildings that we've kind of come across that are single-family homes or two-family homes next to large buildings. And you see this, you can keep going through these pictures. The interaction of these buildings and smaller structures is consistent. It's what this neighborhood is. It has old next to old. It has new next to old. I mean, it's just what we've designed here and, inputted tons of community feedback. There's always a balance of finding what's practical and what's feasible versus what everyone wants to see and one person's particular opinion. But I think this project will do really well. It'll help continue to revitalize the neighborhood. It will put more people into the restaurants, the shops. This part of Lorraine has a lot of exciting new businesses coming in. Visible Voice Books is going in across the street. Another Proof Barbecue opened up just down the street. And the more people, the more it can do to support the neighborhood. I wanted to point out our last project on 41st in Lorraine. That project, without any incentives, we were able to hit 20% of the units hit 80% AMI. The smaller size units creates a larger unit count, but it also allows us to generally have a less price though they were larger units, it'd be a higher dollar for those units. So, but yeah, as you can see, the changes, we've gone through significant changes, single buildings to multiple buildings, different shapes, different sizes, different setbacks. Ultimately, what we landed with is what we really feel great about. The alleyway kind of brings that Fulton Court that's all the way down parallel. This is a great shot of it. It separates the single families, which frankly, the one on the right here, it's staring at a gas station right now. Having a nice structure in between them and a gas station that's sometimes a problem is not a bad thing. It will definitely help them. We've heard the neighbors in this project and others be concerned, apartments next to houses, my values are going to go down, and that's just never been an actual problem. We've seen the opposite. We've seen where homes become more valuable, like this one will be when it doesn't look right at a gas station. So happy to answer any questions specifically about anything, but I think Ms. Leonard did a really good job of explaining most of the site.
What does AMI stand?
Average median income. So our units, different. There was a program we applied for that the city had that if we were able to target a lower price per unit that allowed it to be more affordable, you actually can get government assistance. And we are not getting any at this point, but our target has been to build more affordable. And frankly, we've built in Ohio City specifically the only under $1,000 new construction units I'm aware of are Franklin West project and 41 West have really been able to open up the affordability and new products for people in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Okay, we are going to now open it up for public comment. First, we'll take testimony from those in favor of the zoning change. Those are proponents. Ask that you raise your hand online or here, state your name and address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Anybody else to speak in favor of this? Okay.
I will note for the record, Madam Chair, we received two letters of support for.
Okay. Thank you.
If I could add one thing, we didn't send them in on time, but this project has been going on for over a year, and through various channels, through the other processes, we've received 20 plus letters. We had an online petition where we had 23 different people there supporting, and so, we don't have the block club's email list to weaponize or to get out to everyone as much as we'd like, but there's lots of support for this, and obviously our buildings down the street are full because people want to live in them, and so I think that's an important thing for the neighborhood.
Okay. So next, we'll take comment from those who are opposed to the zoning change. Opponents, just raise your hand, or if you have a question, you can do so as well. You guys go first. Okay, just come up. You can stand and state your name and address, and please go ahead. Welcome.
My name is Julia Mother Grove. I'm from Ohio City, Inc. This isn't necessarily a positive or a negative, so this is a good time to do it. This is a letter directed initially to the Cleveland Landmarks Commission, but now to you all. This was originally written in October 2023, but it's still our statement, so I want to restate it. The Ohio City Incorporated Community Engagement Plan calls for developers and businesses to engage with the Ohio City neighborhood to ensure that the entire community is informed about changes taking place with as few barriers as possible. This includes a monthly community-wide meeting on the third Tuesday of most months, facilitated by OCI at Urban Communities. In an effort for these meetings to be as inclusive as possible, OCI provides food, transportation, and childcare for those who attend. Additionally, the meeting is live streamed and recorded, and then uploaded to sites such as YouTube, Facebook, and the OCI website. For certain projects, OCI has asked that this information be posted on Corbinize public engagement website. Corbinize allows interested residents to follow the project, learn about the timeline, get direct updates, and post their questions and feedback to the page. This feedback is then submitted to the necessary boards and commissions of the city of Cleveland. As part of this community engagement process, My Place Group has undertaken the following efforts that OCI is aware of. My Place Group presented at the February 21st, 2023 Ohio City Community-Wide Meeting. Posted project plans on Corbinize starting on February 22nd, 2023. All subsequent plans have been posted to the same centralized site. All public meetings and recordings have been posted via Corbinize with information on the meeting and how to submit your comments to governing bodies. My Place Group hosted 2 evening meetings at their offices with residents on March 15th, 2023 and April 27th, 2023. OCI and Council Member McCormick hosted a meeting at the OCI office on April 6th, 2023 with 18 nearby impacted neighbors and relied on their feedback and relayed their feedback to the developer. As this project has evolved, the same concerns have been consistently raised by residents nearby. Parking, traffic safety at West 44th and West 45th, and the height of the middle building as it steps toward the 2 Dingley district. However, there has also been support for this project from some residents and businesses in the neighborhood, specifically noting the added density and restoration of the historic building. Overall, OCI's role in this process has been facilitating community engagement. While OCI does not have a position on the matter, we thank the residents and the developer who have been willing to engage throughout the project to improve it for the community. Sincerely, Chris Schmidt, Interim Executive Director of OCI. Thank you.
I will note that we also submitted the comments here. If anyone wants to look at them, there are groups starting from here for your viewing.
Anyone else who'd like to speak?
Hi, Alan Mancuso, City of Cleveland resident, 2037 West 45th. I live immediately in the area. City employee. I work for the Department of Public Health Division of Environment as an environmental health specialist in training. So I have a couple bullet points. I want to piggyback on what Julia said. OCI does not support this project either way. They are completely neutral on this project. So I want that to be clear because at the meeting in March, a representative from city planning spoke that OCI supports it, which is not factual at all. So just to be clear. I have a few bullet points. At that meeting in April that was hosted by OCI at their offices with Councilman McCormick, there was one person that was there out of the 18 that was in support of that. One person that was in support of it. I invite you all to please look at all these comments. They are by and far against this project being built as it is. So please, I urge you, the community, the immediate community does not want this project. The owner of My Place, Chad, lives north of Franklin Avenue. This is on Lorraine. It's not the community around there. So I urge you again, please read the comments. One of the commission representatives, Mr. Sargent, brought forward in the March meeting about making the middle building equal in height to the other ones. I think that was a wonderful idea. I think it would be very helpful. I think the community would be more accepting of that. Yes, it has to go back to landmarks. Okay, this project is still could be built and Chad is still gonna do well and make money off this project. for the record, I am using my personal earned comp time to be here present. Another thing, this was brought forward by Councilman McCormick. It is interesting that he was not at the March meeting when this was brought forward, and he is not here at this meeting, nor were representatives from his office there. I think it's probably a wise choice because this is a very, very divisive project. So as a father, as a husband, I have 4 children. There are many young children living on this street on 45th. The project itself has a very small portion on Lorraine Avenue. The rest is mostly residential. I urge you all individually to please look at these notes. Please do not let this rezoning go through. And please consider the project being changed to 3 buildings that are equal in length, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Akam Van Claveren. I've been a resident in the neighborhood for 47 years. And my first time at a meeting like this. I'm against the project because of one thing. One of the things is there's no parking. There is hardly any parking. And I hosted a block club meeting at my house last year where somebody from OCI said, let the people park on the street. 87 units, 50 some parking spaces for this unit, for this project. They don't have enough parking. So just park on the street. My place on 41st Street has people walking off of Bridge Avenue to their residence because there isn't enough parking for that project. So this is one of the problems. And my other question is to the zoning committee. If there are zoning laws on the books, why every project in Ohio City in the past 30 or 40 years has come up here and asked for a change? Why don't the developers coincide with what the zoning laws are? That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Go ahead.
Firings.
You can stand, you can sit.
Oh, I didn't.
Whatever you
It's my
prefer.
first time. I'm new.
Well,
here.
no, you don't,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
pardon me, deal
You're
with
fine.
the sore throat. I've got a little cheat sheet here. I'm Sean Rooney, one of the immediately adjacent neighbors to the project here. I know this has been going on for a long time. Director Wang mentioned, I think, 500 some comments on the project. I don't certainly expect anyone to do some light reading while we're sitting here. So I'll try and keep it simple. I think my biggest concern with the project is what's being proposed right now is the inconsistency with what we're looking at today versus the application of the city's forthcoming form-based code. I know that's being piloted right now in Detroit, Shoreway, Cadell, and Huff. I would say the built environment in Ohio City on Lorraine Avenue is most similar to Detroit Avenue. So if you look at what's being piloted there, any of the parcels kind of north of the red line on this drawing here would be, I think H4 is the zoning, which is a 32-foot maximum height. So I think actually Chad said earlier that the buildings on 44th and 45th were stepped down in height to 32 feet because they're the closest to the residential properties. If you look at the map, you can actually clearly see where the central building is planned and what you guys are, voting on today. That's actually much closer to some of the residential uses, myself included. So I would ask that the committee at minimum consider a step down as you get closer to the residential uses on the northern boundary of the site. That seems to me to be very consistent with the form-based code. I know it's not being piloted in this neighborhood, but I think the plan, I don't know the timing, but I think the plan is to roll that out citywide in the hopefully near future. So that is, I think, where I would draw my biggest concern. Not here to nitpick every detail or every window treatment or material. And then lastly, I think a lot's been made about the complicated nature of the site. It should be noted that is by design. This developer went out and acquired 2 separate sites from 2 separate private landowners. In fact, they haven't taken title, at least according to public record, on the land on 44th, just north of the gas station. So I would say it certainly didn't need to be a complicated site or as complicated of a site. So I don't know that that deserves or warrants special treatment from the committee. And lastly, you've been involved in this for a year plus. I know I have a couple more seconds here. I've never heard anyone talk about property values or the impact that this would have on their property. Chad's probably right. As an immediately adjacent homeowner, value probably would go up. That has never been a concern or a consideration of anyone who's spoken on the property. So I would just offer that as a. I've also never heard anyone complain about the gas station. Thank you. Oh, no, it's the black one on there, 1976, West 41.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead. Good morning.
Hello again, my name is Whitney Anderson and I live at 1976 West 44th Street. Thank you for taking the time to familiarize yourselves with this project further. Today you're being asked to rezone a project on land primarily zoned to family, a project that Landmarks approved last year with a list of 6 or 7 conditions, which is more than what is typical. I believe the lengthy list of conditions was an effort to push the project through. That, coupled with the fact that this project was reviewed 9 times, with local design review passing it by only 1 vote, exemplifies how questionable it is. As you remember, over 80% of resident feedback during the year-long design review process has been in opposition. Issues of inappropriate scale and massing, significant safety concerns, and insufficient parking have still not been addressed. I know the scale of this project is being justified because a small portion is on Lorraine, but those parcels are already zoned for the appropriate land use. You're being asked to rezone the 2-family parcels, which comprise over 60% of this project, half of which do not even touch commercially zoned land. Under form-based code, which I support and you approved just last month, these parcels could be upzoned to 4 units, but it does not allow an increase in height or stories. If you were able to review the project's presentation, you would have seen a few images of the northern elevation, which is the largest boundary, and I think that it's purposefully being ignored with a lot of this presentation. This is a very flat image that does a very poor job of showing the context. So I want to offer some. This image is taken from my backyard. You can see my neighbor's home, yard, and a small garage. Behind it is the single-story gas station, which is a great neighbor, by the way. No buffer needed, no problems ever. The parcels you're rezoning run primarily east to west between this fence and this gas station, which you can see, and there's not a ton of space there. The entire center of this block is flat. It's backyards and a few small garages, and it's where you're being asked to approve a 5-story building that will stagger above everything around it. But the planning department's form-based code lays out how both increase in density and maintaining some quality of life for existing residents. So this is taken from the presentation that the form-based Shannon Leonard often goes around to these neighborhoods and gives a presentation of what a step down would look like when you go from a commercial property into a residential district. And you can see that not only a buffer is included, but it is required to create step downs. And so that's what we've been continuously asking for today. So even though the developer is not beholden to it, Director Wang even suggested that this project be stepped down when she made her conditions at the Landmarks meeting. Regarding safety, the potential Lorraine Midway does not change West 44th and 45th, which are often abused because they lead to 90 and the Shoreway respectively. This project even adds a through street that egresses into a right turn only lane, the impact of which has hardly been discussed. While I agree that some kind of parking reform was needed in our city, we cannot ignore the data that shows 84% of individuals in Ward 3 own cars, which is higher than the city's average. Yet this project does not include a sufficient TDM plan, which is another zoning reform this commission approved last month, to offset the need for car ownership. As an avid and lifelong urbanist, and I do have my master's in urban planning, I support TOD. To be transit supportive, planning staff suggests 30 housing units per acre. At 0.18 acres, this project only needs 25 units to be transit supportive, yet the current proposal includes 87 units. What has killed me throughout this entire process is that it's absolutely possible to create a transit supportive project that increases density and respects the safety and quality of life for nearby residents. Please consider the precedent this project will set. Will all residentials now allow 5-story buildings, especially if they are close enough but not on a corridor? Could my home be 5 stories? Where do you draw that line? Is it not vital to apply building requirements equitably? It's a false dichotomy to suggest that this project be allowed or nothing will be built here. It's completely okay to deny this rezoning so that a better project can be designed. The developer could have broken ground already if he had been more willing to compromise. Please do not let politics influence your decision. I ask the commission vote no to this rezoning to help repair both trust and equity within the city.
Next. Anyone else to speak?
My name is Charles Davis. I'm a resident of 4002 Blue Avenue, about a block away from the development site. And I'm opposed to the rezoning for the project due to the scale of the project given the site. This is presented as a Lorraine Avenue project, but it doesn't have the necessary Lorraine commercial parcels to support the scale of the project. And so as a result, it's moved into the wrong direction. It's moved into the residential fabric of the neighborhood significantly. The majority, as others said, is on residential lots. And to me, that's an important distinction. This isn't a small incremental rezoning to help projects succeed. This is an about face on the current zoning. And I just want to state that given the scale of this project and the height, this is it's unprecedented. It doesn't exist anywhere else on Lorraine Avenue. There may be 4- and 5-story buildings, but they're well within commercial presence. They don't extend into the residential neighborhood like this one does. This one completely deviates from the rest of the corridor, and it's opposed to the historic fabric of the neighborhood. I don't believe rezoning is justified in this case as a set of precedent for future development. Where is the line drawn in terms of what is acceptable? There's an expectation when we move into our spaces of an expectation and understanding of what the fabric of the community is. And if you're 6-7 parcels away from the commercial corridor, and it's really due to rezoning like this is one proposed here, a 5-story commercial structure built upon you, that's something that zoning is acted against. The height should be reduced as it transitions to the residential portion. And finally, I just want to conclude by saying that I'm not against this new development or added density. I've been an active community member and block club participant for several years, and we've accommodated several new developments, even along the Lorraine Avenue corridor, including mixed-use apartment, retail, much of which have gone unopposed or going to various slate tweaks with. This one has been opposed. It's been opposed in our block club, other community meetings, online organized. It has not reached this far to the community support. And I just want to, I believe that the concerns of the community surrounding this project are verified by the fact that it's a new type of zoning, current zoning, proposed zoning, historic nature of the neighborhood, and so on. And I believe that we can have a development on this site that honors the code, is respectful of its neighbors, and still helps the city achieve its goal of added density. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, thanks for taking my comments into consideration. My name is Martha Lockridge. My husband, Ethan, Mayor, and I own properties at 1914 and 1918 Street, 1 block away from the parcels that are the subject of this requested map change. We've lived in the neighborhood since the 1990s. Our family of 4 and our tenant who takes care of young children for her family will be impacted by the proposed development on this site. As previously mentioned, the neighbors living within 1 to 2 blocks of this proposed development, the bulk of which is on West 45th Street and 44th. have requested from the beginning for the project to be scaled back. The drumbeat of densities coming from the city planning office has allowed this project awkward and oversized for these parcels to drown out our call for more modest development. The proposed change is extreme and far exceeds the increases that the form-based code would allow. The proposed change appears to give preferential treatment to a developer in ways that an individual landowner or homeowner wouldn't receive. And it sets a precedent for all the other properties up and down the ring. A 5-story building doesn't belong in a residential area. Keep the taller buildings on the ring. Don't let them creep into the residential side streets. Maintain the character of the side streets. Even on Lorraine, all the buildings within eyesight, yes, there are taller buildings farther away, but within eyesight, they're all 3 stories or less. I don't know, have you been to DC? It's a beautiful city. I was there last week, and even on major thoroughfares, you can tell that their zoning has maintained historical context with height and style, even on major thoroughfares like Pennsylvania Avenue. This map change is allowed, and 87 studio and 1-bedroom apartments are built with only 48 parking spaces. There'll be an influx of over 100 plus people and their vehicles. With market rate apartments and lackluster public transit, people will have cars. This is our reality, like it or not. And they will most certainly use them to travel outside the area and need a place to put them when not in use. So we have concerns about traffic and parking. People zoom down West 45th Street, it's going to increase the traffic between the Shoreway and I-90 on West 44th and West 45th. There's lots of near misses of accidents on 45th and Lorraine. And we don't currently have parking problems, there will be parking problems. We don't have off-street parking. Our home was built before cars were common. And we'd love to see development that's more modest. Please don't.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, as a point of order, I would like to note that on your website, this information for public hearings noted that there's 3 minutes for comments, not minutes. Do you mind just
I said 3 minutes.
what?
I said 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I said 3 minutes or less.
Okay.
And I've been actually timing them, and most of them have gone over, and I have not allowed.
Turn around and look at that screen.
Right,
Yeah,
but I said 3 minutes. I've
Yeah.
allowed actually 4 or 5 minutes, and I have not stopped anyone. So please go ahead and use your time.
I thought
Thank
maybe
you.
it was an oversight on the website.
Yes, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, this is a complicated plan for the unique and complex site.
Name and address.
Sorry, my name is Margaret Sattler and I live at 2021 West 45th Street. My house is 5200 with this project. We'll have incredible views. This is a complicated plan for a unique and complex site with multiple buildings. Each building interacts with the neighborhood differently. Individually, buildings have entirely different zoning. Using a planning tool like this proposed map change is probably perfectly appropriate for developments on commercial corridors that occupy mostly standard rectangular lots. Shannon gave a ton of examples. In this instance, the buildings on the side streets are completely disconnected from the commercial corridor and become the entry point to the neighborhood. The design fits with that approach, and these 2 buildings fronting side streets primarily need to be rezoned to accommodate multiple housing. During the My Place presentation, the developer referenced a similar project he completed on Clinton Avenue that has no retail and is zoned for medium density apartments, which is perfectly appropriate and what should be happening with the buildings on West 44th and on West 45th. Building 2 is the building that has the actual split zoning issue. It straddles multiple parcels ranging from 2-family to the local retail business district. Building 2 is 5 stories and will include only 400 square feet of retail, which is radically different than the other 2 proposed buildings. To treat all 3 buildings with the same planning tool does not fit. Changing the use from local retail business district to a limited retail business district and applying that change to full development opens up the smaller buildings to use as a hotel or motel
or for other short-term rentals like Airbnbs, which are a nuisance in the neighborhood. In fact, with only 400 square feet of retail proposed for the entire project, extending the retail zoning into the entirety of the residential area appears to be an overstep. There remain additional traffic and safety concerns that have not been able to be addressed because of the siloed nature of this approval process. Someone has to look strategically at how this development fits within the existing fabric of the community and the existing infrastructure, rather than within administrative policies and priorities. I respectfully request that you and your fellow members of the City Planning Commission deny this map change as presented. I recommend that you ask the developer to either split the zoning request based on the buildings or limit the zoning changes to keep the existing local retail district in place, which would go a long way to preventing these apartments from becoming Airbnbs. And as others have noted, this project could easily move forward without neighborhood opposition if the developer took the time to step the building back in the rear as it approaches the residential neighborhood. And that is the crux of the issue here today. Thank you.
Are you gonna go ahead as well? Thank you.
My name is Greg Sattler, I live at 2021 West 45th Street. I'm opposed to the project. I do not have exact numbers in front of me today. I had them at the.
Madam Chair, excuse me, are you guys from the same,
Yeah,
My wife.
so,
Yeah.
so they're allowed
Yeah,
to
yeah.
speak twice for one part from
Yeah.
Fiona? Okay, just want to be clear.
They did it too.
All right, I don't,
Okay, yeah.
I don't know who,
Let's hear for 1976. Everyone's allowed to
Right.
speak their voice, but it should be noted that there are multiple.
yes, I just wanted to make that clarification. Thank you.
Do not have the exact numbers in front of me, but I did at the earlier March meeting. This is not a Lorraine Avenue project. Out of 300 total frontage feet, only approximately 75 are on Lorraine. 60% of this area is zoned for two-family. Only 40% of the the acreage square footage is in the retail Lorraine district, and that should be kept. The city should not have to bend its will to the developer's will. Frankly, as shown in an earlier slide by the city, there is not a whole lot of vacancy in this area. We are not desperate for this development. We can do better. We can make a development that works for everyone, including the residents. 10 years ago probably would have been accepted because there was a larger need. There is a less need now. We don't have to take anything that we are offered. We have some discretion. I also like to point out that this is the only board that has been able to hear in-person comments. The Landmarks and Ohio City Design have all been emailed comments that have been passed around to people, and only there was 30 comments summarized into 3 lines by one of the staff members. She did a good job, but as you can tell from all the people before me, there are some specific passionate concerns about this project, and that doesn't get conveyed in a 3-sentence summary of 40 comments. So while it passed, I feel that it might not have passed if if all of us were able to voice our concerns at every step along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who's here to speak to this matter? Is there anybody online that wants to raise their hand? Or I don't see any. I'm online, so if you would like to raise your hand. So I'd like to close the public portion and ask that commission members, so now public portion is closed. So you cannot make comments just anymore. But commission members to ask any questions of Shannon or staff or have any discussion.
Madam Chair, point of clarification, you're just weighing in on the zoning change, nothing to do with the design or any ability to have that re-reviewed by Landmarks, correct?
That's correct. And then can I address some of the questions that were brought up during the public comment? For clarification.
I'm not sure unless commission members need specific ones, and
Okay.
they're allowed to make their comments or
Okay.
any questions. I mean, so I think if commission members have questions, they can answer them.
I know this is outside our purview, and I just wanted to make social commentary about what the applicant indicated they're providing affordable housing in this development. Anyway, they're providing a mixed income approach to this development. Is that correct?
This is Chad. Yeah, so our targeted nature of the price points, because the units are smaller, will allow us to have a lower price. As I said, we don't have any subsidies, but we intend to make them as affordable as possible.
All right. Okay, that's what I thought you said. So, this is just my pet peeve when we talk about equity and access. Making units smaller and saying they're affordable is not, in my opinion, equitable. I've worked on lots of mixed income projects around the country, and you don't make a distinction in size. So I have a problem with that, but if you can get away with that, you can sleep at night, God bless you. So anyhow, just another comment. I believe in theory, I understand what's trying to be achieved here, and I agree with it. I think the best way to protect neighborhoods down side streets is to create buffers. And this is what I believe this zoning will accommodate. As relates to traffic, those two streets are tough. The issues that exist there, it's not because you're gonna have 82 more units, it's because it's the nature of folks trying to get to the freeway and off the freeway, unfortunately. My son used to attend urban community, so I know how that works. So those are the last two comments I want to share.
I want to start with a question for Shannon, just to make sure I understand. When we say that zoning is contingent on the site plan, define site plan versus design. And I guess hearing clearly, I'm not worried about traffic is something we can react to and signalize and things, but understanding that the primary concern I'm hearing is the height of the middle building. If the building were to be reduced down to 4 stories at some point in the back, for example, would that change, but still be accommodated within the same footprint in this site plan? Is that a change in site plan that would require basically starting the process over, or is that design?
So site plan specific rezoning encompasses the entire project proposal. So that's the site plan, the elevations, the massing, everything that was approved here at Landmarks is going into this legislation. But it also requires that this is what is being built. So you have the 87 units with, I think, the 400 to 600 square foot retail. You're not gonna get a hotel here. You can't have a hotel. Airbnb, the city's working on legislation so that in the future that everybody's concerned about buildings being Airbnb, or essentially they become hotels, so there's more than 10 units being used as Airbnb would not fit here. So it will be certificate of occupancy restricted to residential units, the retail, and then the leasing space that is being presented here today, because it's in the legislation. Any type of changes to the facade, the site plan, let's say they ultimately decide, hey, we want to lower this building, we're going to have to come back either for a rezoning, or they'll have to operate under the zoning that it is today. Additionally, I just want to point out that there's a lot of comments about the local retail and moving residential apartment buildings into the 2-family residential. And the reason why we use these properties to buffer is because those 2 front parcels fronting the rain, when we talk about the missing teeth and wanting infill development, those 2 parcels are about 11,500 square feet. At a half area district, in a 5-story district, you would essentially only be able to have 5,000 square feet of a building there, which doesn't make sense when we're trying to add more housing, affordable options and different housing typologies to maintain affordability across the city. So that's why and why when this proposal came forward, we added those extra parcels buffering.
I'm gonna come back to Shannon if I could. Could Landmarks Commission speak to the conversations during the Landmarks process about the height of the central building and how that approval was arrived at for the 5 stories? I'm gonna say just a minute.
Sure, thank you. Through the chair, there was quite a bit of discussion of the scale, massing, and the height of specifically that center building. A lot of the commission members made comments that they want to see it stepped back in height from Lorraine. There were also comments that people want to see it stepped back from the northern portion. So it would depend which commission member you ask. Some of them felt it should be taller in the front, some of them felt it should be taller in the back. Ultimately, everyone settled on, 5 stories with a slight setback on the Lorraine facade. I believe that was a 7-to-1 vote for the approval. There was a consideration that it steps back in the back, but that was not a condition of the approval. So there wasn't a lot of discussion about the play. I think, if it had been a maximum of 4 stories, it probably would have been easier approval. That extra height was a sticking point for the commission, but they did ultimately approve it at its current height.
Okay, and then a question for the planning director. If a decision were made to, I'm confused on how an approval can be given to give consideration to step something back, but then making that consideration would alter the plan. That seems there's circular logic about considering things to alter the plan, but then altering the plan creates challenges here today. Like, I don't know if I'm phrasing the question correctly, but if it's how can they consider that without derailing their entire process?
Right, so that was a final approval at Landmarks Commission.
Okay,
So I was the one who made the motion.
sure, okay.
Conditions, that needs to be addressed in the final submission to the Landmarks Commission before they can sign off on the project moving forward. Considerations are more like recommendations, say, all right, think about it. They elect to come back, they would have to come back to Landmarks for the final approval if they did drop it. So the developer elected to move forward with what's presented today for the reason. Does that make sense? So if they decided to drop the back part of the building, they would in fact have to gone through Landmarks again for final approval, then come to planning commission for the rezoning. So they elected not to drop it and stick with what was.
And I know I'm taking up a lot of time, and I apologize. I think my final question, Shannon, maybe this is an unfair question, but speaking to form-based code and kind of the spirit of form-based code, when we talk about form-based code requiring step backs, to me, there's the physical being able to step back the height of a building, but there's also distance between structures. How would form-based code and the step back requirement speak to this? Is your sense that it would require a lower structure as a step back, or is the alley effectively the step back?
Thank you for asking that, because I forgot to mention. So the alley is, and the screening buffer is the step back here. So in the form-based code, the step down is anything, you have a 10-foot buffer, and anything over 24 feet, you have a 20-foot buffer. But if there's a 20-foot buffer on the ground, that is the buffer. So essentially here, the alley is serving, and the landscape, the dense landscape screening is serving as the transition that's required under the form. And then this height here is in matching, but then it's 32. Also to note, somebody brought up the form-based code that wherever we map H4 doesn't necessarily mean that this a 2-family district everywhere across the city would be H4. And in fact, if you look along that Detroit Shoreway map, you'll notice parcels that are vacant behind the commercial corridor are also either zoned community flex, urban flex, or urban nodes, allowing for multifamily residential and a small portion of retail. So this is an alignment in terms of that buffer. But if, let's say they were only within 10 feet of the property line, and anything above 24 feet would then have another at least minimum 10-foot step back. The current code requires, and this is why you probably had it at Landmarks, is the current code says for every foot that you step back off of Lorraine, you can go up to additional 2 feet of 2 feet up. So pushing more of that height towards the residential properties, our current code allows for that by right And you can go up to a maximum of actually 90 feet in a two height district. Whereas the form-based code is saying, hey, the higher you go, please step away from the residential to the rear, or to the north in this case.
I'm struggling with this one. I feel like if I'm not knowing the finances of, it's easy to speculate when you don't know the numbers, but it feels as if stepping the back of the building down at landmarks would have been prudent, but here we are. I think where I'm struggling is and maybe this is unfair and I'm gonna get yelled at for saying this, and this is not about anyone here, this is just about a macro thing. There's been so many instances of projects on the near west side where even when it was in conformance with zoning, neighbors were opposed to development, that there's, I trying to weed through like, and not do guilt by association, but understand, you know, when there are concerns, what is acceptable to the neighborhood? And I feel like with this project, I'm not entirely clear if there's consensus on, I think within this room, there's clear consensus that the top of the building is too high, but I'm not hearing if there's consensus on what the resolution would be and how those conversations were had, if at all. So I'll just say that I am struggling with this one. So, well, I know that's not helpful.
I can tell you one thing, Councilman, and hopefully this, Ohio City doesn't take this as a dig. Sometimes being neutral is an answer. Unfortunately, I wish you would have had the fortitude and actually just the decency to have an opinion. That's just my opinion, and I think that's where some of the confusion lies, in my personal opinion. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I just state for the record, I have to say, we did receive 12 letters against, some of them also provided.
I'll just comment for the record that we do receive the comments and letters ahead of time for review, so this is the first time we've seen these.
Okay. Well, I cannot make a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the zoning changes presented here today.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comment or discussion? All right, call the roll.
Anthony,
No.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Slide.
No.
Motion carries. This next project is also a zoning matter, so it will be a public hearing as well. This is an unnumbered ordinance changing the use type districts of parcels of land north of Lorraine between West 150th and the Norfolk Southern Railroad. We will also start similarly with a presentation from staff, and then the sponsor, and then we'll take public comment. Shannon, are you doing this one too?
I can, or
Either one.
This is just the map change 2630 that you guys previously approved in Councilman Slide's word. It's a technical issue that was just correcting here.
Okay. Do you want to do it just quickly? Yeah, do it quickly, just because I don't know that we remember it.
Okay. Are you ready? So again, this is the changing the use area height districts of parcels of land north and south of Lorraine between West 150th and the Norfolk Southern Railroad, and extending the pedestrian retail and urban overlay district. I was to allow the development of transit-oriented development, affordable housing on the RTA parcels, promote a variety of housing typologies, to remove the legacy industrial zoning designations, and to consolidate the hodgepodge of zoning districts to be more compatible with nearby residential neighborhoods and to become more lawful. This was the zoning, this is the existing zoning as you can tell, it's a mix of general and semi-industry, general retail, and some multi-family that's along the railroad tracks here. This initially came before you all in 2021 and it finished out about a month ago. We went to DPNS and then Councilman Slife and the planner agreed to remove part of the urban form overlay on the parcels to the south. And so you can see here, where we had the original zoning that was approved, and then the zoning to the right, we're just removing the pedestrian retail and urban form overlay to the south side of the lane. And that's really because when this first came through, there wasn't really understanding what was going to go on the Kmart site and some of the other sites near the railroad. And since then, the redevelopment has already occurred. And so when this passed council, it passed without the amendments made at the table. And so we had to come back before the new map change, really to basically get those amendments on record and make sure that you guys approve the amendments, and then take it through the website. So that's really all that's happening here. And
We're cleaning it up.
we're cleaning it.
There you go.
There was a confusion there about making an amendment to zoning piece at council, and there was an assumption that if the amendment was reducing restrictions, that it would not conflict with what the planning commission had approved. Learned after the fact that if there's any amendment, it does have to come back to the planning commission, even if it is a less restrictive change.
Well, since I see you're the sponsor, you just spoke.
Yeah.
So you're for it. Well, anytime. I'm just kidding.
We all agree.
Yeah. So is anyone online or here who's here to speak in favor of this? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone here to who's opposed or who has a question to the zoning matter? Okay, closing the public portion. Commission members?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Well,
Motion and a second. I call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Yes.
Craig Scott.
Yes. Yes.
McKnight.
Yes.
yes.
Motion carries.
Excited about the,
Thank you. So the next item is a design review, a case. It's FW 2023-006, a proposed demolition of a 2.5-story building. And this is at 4686 West 130th Street. And is Murad here to speak to this or online?
I'm here. Madam Chair, just as a point of clarity for the director, Wong, do we hear this project, or not the demolition, but is there a project connected to this?
If I may, Madam Chair, yes. A while back, about 5 years or so ago, there was a proposal for a service station that would have kept this building and used it. And the service station pumps would have been in the back. And would have better. In the street in front. It was approved by this body that was dramatic.
So the approval, the case before you was similar. And there, as far as we know, is.
Okay.
It helps because I grew up in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I need to swear in anyone who's going to speak. Is Murad?
Yes,
on?
I'm here.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. So please present. I think we have your slides. You can go through them and tell us about the project.
The project is what we started as for demo. Then otherwise we were planning to start doing a pizza store and an ice cream and a daycare. I believe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, the whole idea has been changed because like how I'm said, I'm gonna tell you the truth. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm not really sure. Down the street of West 130, we have an issue with a guy with an AK-47 was shooting at the car. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Mm-mm.
And it was on the police. It was all over the police station, all the stuff. I have the pictures of the guy from the security camera was posting it. The literally guy with an AK-47 was shooting at the car. So all the idea of us, I'm speaking about the owner. I am just a demolition contractor. From the whole perspective, from that idea, is building something on that lot, it's going to be a little bit tricky now from between yes or no. Because how I'm gonna put a daycare over there, when that's not the first issue with the guy on the gun in that streets. It shows me that neighborhood's not gonna be nice for a daycare and an ice cream store and a pizza place. So, like how I mentioned, plans might be changed for that to be grown up. The owner is planning to knock it down and sell the lot as is. Whoever wants to buy it, they can deal with it if they want to build or do something to it. However, as leaving it like that, it's considered more dangerous. Ugly building just sitting in the street. I don't want nobody to be inside doing drugs. God forbid, someone kidnap someone, will be inside the building, or just having a problem with them. I tried to ask him for a rehab. Maybe we can try to remodel the building. He's not interested in the whole neighborhood, so that's what I have to say about it.
I would like to note that the Far West design review unanimously disapproved this demolition. Was there any discussion that you want to share with us from the local?
Yeah, and then I see that the CDC representative raised some hand for comments.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I don't see it online then.
Melissa.
She muted.
Larry,
I don't
here it
see
is,
her.
right?
Oh, yeah. I
I'm
see.
here.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the design review?
So at the design review for this, the concept at that time was still to build the daycare and the ice cream store and the additional storefront. And we were fine with that. And as well as being fine with the demolition, if that was going to happen right after the demolition. But they had no additional plans for that. They could not give us a timeline for that. They could not tell us that they had the funding to do all of that work at that time. So nothing, we opposed it because we don't want to just see it come down and nothing be built for several years. The neighborhood is there. That was an incident. The neighborhood is not as bad as he claims. There is a daycare in the neighborhood. A taco and ice cream stand just opened in the neighborhood. Another grocery store is moving into that neighborhood, along with a pupuseria. At the present moment, they're investing, close to $500,000 into a building right up the street from there. So the neighborhood, that is the neighborhood where the new indoor pickleball facility is going in that has been in the news lately. The neighborhood has a lot of really good development going on. We want this site to be developed well as well. But without any plans, we didn't see the need to knock down vernacular building that has deteriorated a bit over time, just because the owner, who is in the neighborhood every day and that owns property in the neighborhood, neglects it.
I see the councilman is on. Councilman Casey, would you like to go next? I apologize. I would have had you go earlier. I just didn't see.
No, thank you. And I think the commission's time and energy regarding this, after hearing the developer's comments, I'm opposing the demolition as well. To hear that he just wants to demo it and sell the lot as is, he can take his business and go elsewhere and leave it up to the owner of this property to figure out what he's going to do with it, as aside from just demoing it. And in addition, I'm also working with Landmarks to possibly deem the building historic. So I definitely oppose the demolition of this building.
Sure, thank you. I see one other hand raised, Nathaniel.
Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning,
Nathaniel.
Commission.
Yeah.
Nate Law with
Sorry,
City
Nate.
Planning. I just wanted to provide a little bit of additional context about the timeline of this building, or just the process we went through with the councilman and the CDC in the area. So we received a building permit for this on July 14th of 2023. We had communications with the demo contractor leading up to it finally being on design review on February 27th, 2024. We also met with the councilman and the CDC at the CDC's offices on Thursday, February 15th. We discussed a number of options, including rehabbing the existing building, demolishing and building new construction on the site, or just demolishing the building and selling the land. It seemed at that time that they had no clear plans that they had decided, and it sounds like they've changed their plans again since we had that meeting in February. They also stated again that they would want to build a new building here, but that they didn't have the funding for it at the time, and it would take a number of years potentially to fundraise for that sort of plan. It came to design review on March 6th of 2024 and was denied due to the clear lack of plans for the future use of the site. The committee thought it was short-sighted to demolish the building with no clear plan in place, and was not convinced of the need to demolish the building due to the claims of it being infeasible to rehab. Obviously, new construction plans have not been weighed in yet by the design review committee, but we believe that rehab would still be more cost effective than a new construction building in this location, given some of the challenges of the neighborhood. The neighborhood as a whole is kind of a perfect example of a middle neighborhood where you do have small business owners trying to invest, but there's a number of property owners and businesses that just don't take great care of their property, and it weighs down when you have people trying to make investment there. Lastly, this stretch of West 130th is really one of the last parts of the street with a good urban fabric on it, and it has its historical context still in place, with mainly two-story buildings with storefronts on the bottom and residential on top. So overall, I agree with the design review committee, the councilman, and the CDC that this building does not need to be demolished. There's not sufficient evidence to prove this building's beyond repair, nor is there enough evidence to suggest that anything will happen in the future, or it'll be impossible to sell the building, which it sounds like that's the owner's intent at this point. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't see any other hands raised. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Motion?
Madam Chair, just real quick clarification. How long has the building been vacant?
Do you know the answer to that, or the CDC, Councilman?
I'm happy to chime in. I think it's been a number of years. Before the current property owner owned the building, it was vacant. Melissa, do you have anything else on that?
I would say it's been vacant for about 15 years.
So may I add some commentary as the director?
Sure.
I think because of Residents First, which passed council, that's the Director Martin O'Toole's and council's housing and code enforcement policies. Because there's a new vacant building registry, I'm not necessarily saying this case specifically. Yeah, I think we're gonna see more requests for demolition because vacant building property owners are gonna have to register buildings. And maybe this is another way to deal with that. So I just caution, we agree with the design review committee that this ought to be disapproved, in the sense that there likely will be more requests to just simply demo a building rather than preserve it.
It's all the same.
Participate in the vacant building property inventory in cities.
Okay. A motion?
Madam Chair, I move to disapprove the request based upon the condition of the building and its location within the neighborhood and its importance, and also the commentary made by Blair Puritas.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I think also for me, we have had a pretty strong, it is a policy on demolition without seeing any plans. I mean, it's pretty standard across this commission that we do not allow a demolition without a plan, unless there is a real life safety issue. So I just add that commentary. Can you call the roll, Michael?
Anthony,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Craig Scott.
She made the second. She thumbs up.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. The next is a demolition, 2024-004. This is the demolition of several industrial buildings at 2121 West 117th Street. Ryan Cronin, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So the Welded Ring Company is looking to demolish these dilapidated buildings that are along West 117th Street that run north and south. The buildings are not in great condition. They're unsafe, and they're having issues with people breaking in them and trying to contain all that. So they're looking to demolish them and clean up. As far as any future plans, I'm not privy to any of that information, if they plan to expand or not. And that's where it's at right now.
So what is the business?
The
overall
Welded,
site?
excuse me?
Just the overall site. It's an operating business?
Yes, it is. It's approximately about a 500,000 square feet facility, and it's about 40,000 square feet that they're going to demolish.
And
The
they're
buildings.
not, are they planning to just seed and grass it and not use it for parking?
So they want to leave the slabs in place for at the moment.
So
They barricaded it. They've tried to keep people out of there. The Riley House is just north of there. So there's a lot of foot traffic that comes through there. And they make their way into that building. It's unsafe, and they're finding, some issues there with people that in the past. So they're trying to get rid of it and clean it up.
Their basement,
No,
just a slab.
correct.
Madam Chair, to Director Wong, I've seen throughout the city where we've approved demolitions, the slab remain intact. They don't really do anything to help beautify the lot, and it happens for in perpetuity. I mean, if we should consider this, should we put some timeline, corrective measures?
There-
Something should happen.
There were two conditions, and I do address what you just said.
Well, no, not the slabs. I mean,
Yeah, they were, if this was
because grass won't
approved-
grow in slabs.
This was,
Well, it might.
this was approved with two conditions: to work with staff to add a 6-foot privacy fence along the existing edge of the demolished building, and to consider improving the landscape on the West 117th Street with additional plantings. So I think, to your point, was to not allow these to just be an eyesore.
But I'm talking about the slabs that are gonna remain in place. What
Correct.
happens is eventually they decay, things start growing, it becomes an issue down the road. So I don't know why you want slabs to remain, that's all, I just don't get it.
Right. Madam Chair, I agree with my colleague. It's just not aesthetically pleasing to see those slabs in the community like that. I mean, if they're going to grade it, grade the whole thing and plant grass, so at least it'll be pleasing to the eye.
Okay, well, an option is for us to approve this with the condition that they remove the slab, and then it's their choice to do that or not. You will not sign off on the permit without the removal of the
Okay.
slab and the landscaping, so that is an option.
Okay.
Does and I do want to acknowledge that Councilman Parks here too.
Oh, okay.
Do we know, so former industrial development dude, there's appeal in the near term for slabs but that appeal diminishes over time as water's hitting it and it decays and stuff. So I guess is the long-term plan for this to be, parceled off or preserved for new development for the company, or like, because I think I'm very in favor of the demolition of the building itself. I think just the question is, I don't want to preclude some near-term industrial development because we got rid of the slab, assuming that the opportunity wasn't there, but the opportunity were to present itself. But then the catch-22 is, like, how long do you hold out hope, and then we end up right in the situation that we're trying to avoid. So I don't know if you're able to speak to the gentleman online about kind of if there's any plan to retain ownership or parcel out or advertise for development, or if that hasn't been determined.
They plan to retain ownership. None of that will be, sold off or parcel split or anything like that. As far as, like I said, I think they're going to utilize that parcel with the slabs in place for their business, possibly maybe expansion. I don't know what the owner plans to do. He hasn't told me, but they do want to get rid of the structures because of the danger of it.
Do you know off the top of your head the depth of the slabs?
The depth of them?
Yeah.
The thickness of the slabs?
Yeah.
They're approximately about 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches.
Not very big.
It was formerly a manufacturing in that, in that building there. And just to the north of the buildings that we're looking to have demolished, those buildings extended down that way and was previously demolished years ago by the same owner. They're going to clean that up. As part of our scope would be to clean all that up. It'll look nice and present. There won't be any issues on West 117th as you drive past. As well as you won't see a lot of that when you're heading north on West 117th because of the elevation change.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The councilman want to speak?
My aide Dave has been dealing with this, swear him in, and he speaks public.
Thank you. We don't have to swear him in. He's a city employee.
You're
You're always sworn in. Forever.
David Rogers. David Rogers, Executive Assistant to Councilman Danny Kelly. Just a little history on it. Welded Ring goes back to before World War II. They built tanks actually for World War II. They're a huge manufacturer. They employ a lot of people in our ward. We have a great working relationship with them. And with B. Riley House, the Keating Center actually sublets to B. Riley House. So the safety issue that he mentioned is totally true. I actually know somebody that ended up at the Keating Center, and he's been clean for years, but he actually was breaking into there and scrapping for years. It was one of his little hustles. So the only rub we've ever really had with Welded Ring was always the fact that these buildings, when I worked at Westtown Community Development, we constantly got complaints. What's up with those vacant buildings on 117th? They look terrible. And again, this is a blight issue where you get these industrial areas, these industrial tracts where stuff just gets left in decay. So again, I mean, the long and the short is they're a great company, Welded Ring. They employ a lot of people. They keep their property really clean, but they've let those go into disrepair for years. They're missing sections of roof. I mean, you're going down 117th, you have Target, Giant Eagle. We're having a Bank of America built in our ward. There's a lot of new development going on. And then you have this big tract that he's mentioning to demo that just is a terrible blight eyesore. It really is. I understand the perspective with the slabs, but there's no way to say that demoing these would, like Councilman Slife said, wouldn't make it look better in the short term, even if it is for a few years or whatever, because with all the development going on, with Variety Theater going on, with Bank of America, these are like the component that's like, okay, you got across the street, you got Home Depot, it all looks nice, you got Staples, and then you've got this giant tract of these really bad buildings. And if you remove them, whether the slab stays or not, I understand there's conditions, but I mean, we were advocating strongly to have them removed. He had already mentioned that red section there was already removed. They've already done some of the demo. So they just want to carry forth with demoing the eyesore part of their property because the rest of their property is meticulous. I mean, it really is. If you got rid of this, that would look so much better in terms of driving down 117th and what you see in terms of development. There's the AutoZone across the street, Home Depot, Staples, it all looks nice, but then you've got this eyesore across the street, these old industrial buildings that don't have a function anymore, and they're not going to be able to be rehabbed. There's no way that's going to happen. They're all decayed, the roof structure's gone, the truss systems are rotting away, and they are a danger. And it is difficult to cordon off that section because there's always traffic going in and out of either Welded Ring or B. Riley. So you do have vagrants that go in there, all kinds of stuff, graffiti. They did paint the front, you know, and again, that's good stewardship from Welded Ring that they've been trying to keep up with it, but they've just decayed. And they're probably, I don't know the age of those, but they're probably close to 100 years old, maybe 80 years old or something. So we do get a lot of complaints just about that section when it comes to Welded Ring. Nothing else. They employ a lot of people. That, it's good stewardship. They just want to remove the bad part of it, and it seems like a reasonable request.
Are you okay with the conditions to add a privacy bench and additional landscaping?
I mean, that would be great. That'd be a really long fence. That would obviously be a commitment on
some
ownership,
Some of it could be landscaping. They could work with staff to get the landscaping correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Based upon, this is a motion, so multiple part motion. Based upon testimony from the councilman's office and Councilman Slight, I move to approve the demolition with conditions of adding a privacy fence and landscaping or portions thereof, and that to be worked out with staff. And that the slabs remain because they apparently provide some intrinsic value for future development.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other comment? Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Kirby.
Yes.
McBride Scott,
Yes.
McKnight.
Yes.
Slut.
Yes.
Motion carries. I like the loudness. So to the applicant, you do not have to come back here. You can work with the staff to figure out the portions that can be landscaped, fenced, and they can sign off on the permit.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
You're
for your
welcome.
time.
Thank you. Northeast Design Review, this is 2023-023, East 118th Residences is new construction. This is final approval. Note that we approved this for schematic design on December 1st. This is at 155 East 118th Street. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and then nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. So for this item, also, I think you can really, since we saw this before, I think you can move fairly quickly, if that's okay. There are some conditions that you probably saw as well. So please address those in your comments.
Perfect. As was mentioned, we were here previously for, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Kevin Oliver with Oliver Architecture.
Carmen Imarino with Alpha Apartments.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No problem.
My fault, not yours.
So the project has changed from when we were here for schematic design. We had some input and interaction with the community, councilmen, various community groups. And so the location remains unchanged on East 118th and Wade Park. You can sort of skip through these. We've seen these before. The context, there are two existing two-family buildings on the site, which we're retaining. The difference from the previous schematic version of this is towards the rear of the parcel, there was a second building there with an additional 5 units. The feedback we received was that the community felt the project was too dense, too tall, not enough parking, way oversimplifying those interaction discussions, which were very helpful. And so this version still maintains the 2 existing two-family houses, as well as the new proposed units along the south of the parcel, and tucks the parking into the back. So what was 7 parking spaces for 23 total units is now 14 parking spaces for 18 total units when considering the new building plus the existing two-family structures. In addition to our total square footage on the site went from just under 36,000 square feet to just over 26,000. So not quite a 30% reduction in total square footage on the site. The new building has a 4-story front portion facing East 118th, but then the rest of the building is a 3-story height, again, taking into consideration feedback regarding height massing of the overall project, but also still maintaining a face on East 118th. So I think it was a good solution that maintains the existing buildings on site. Those aren't being removed for parking. Again, conceals the parking towards the rear of the site, keeping the walkability of East 118th, and continues to face East 118th with our new building on the site as well. Palette of materials is unchanged from previous, mixture of brick siding on the facade, privacy fence, 6 foot tall, board on board wood fence around the perimeter, and then the condensing units are up on the roof, screened so that they're not at grade adjacent to the neighbor to the south as well. That might have been too quick, but I'm happy to answer questions, conscious of time.
Thank you. Commissioner Member, any question?
I don't recall, whose service area is this in?
Conwell.
Conwell, and it's in Glenville, right? Flamico's?
It's south of Wade Park, but it's right on the edge.
Yeah. We met with Flamico's, University Circle, and Third Bug.
And also neighbors to neighbors, so.
All right, so
We're in this
You're on the
especially tertiary area, right?
That's a key, neighbor to neighbor, you said the right thing.
Yes.
And then, sorry, the two conditions.
Yeah.
So if we go back to the site plan, one condition was for the trash bins for the 2 family units to be located, and those will be located behind Building B. I have hard copies of that diagram. And then the second comment was that the arborvitae proposed are not acceptable. From Wednesday, we talked to our landscape architect, and they're proposing that in place of those could be 3 Norway spruce, 3 kindred spirit oaks to satisfy concerns about the specific species of plant to meet that tree requirement.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
We did a letter of concern from Ms. Morrison Rocky, who was on his side.
That's right, I do remember reading that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Good. Okay.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move to approve applicant's proposal for final approval with the following conditions: that they provide screening for trash receptacles, and that they provide a different type of tree species with the comparable deciduous tree that is being removed.
And I second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Prescott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Swett.
Yes.
Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
It's a nice project.
Thank you.
Central South Design Review, proposed demolition of a 2.5-story structure. This is at 5910 Bauer Avenue. The city of Cleveland is presenting this, so I don't need to swear you in.
Hi, I'm Jillian Bellino. I'm with the City of Cleveland's Demolition Bureau and the Department of Building and Housing. So we are proposing to demolish a single-family residential structure at 5910 Bauer. It is owned by the ICLB, which is the Industrial Commercial Land Bank, which is Economic Development's land bank. So they acquired it from state forfeiture in 2020. Typically, when properties go into state forfeiture, that means they're highly undesirable. To get to state forfeiture, it went to sheriff's sale twice and it received no bids. And then the ICLB acquired it a month after it went to state forfeiture. So the property is condemned. It was condemned in March of 22. We've received 7 formal complaints from Acela. We've worded this up several times. We understand that there are folks going in and out of it. So on the map, it's the red dot. It faces the Opportunity Corridor, but it is elevated above the corridor. So it actually faces those trees. The adjacent structures are residential. A little bit closer for you guys. And that property across the street is owned by the Ohio Department of Transportation. You can keep going. So these are just some photos of the exterior. We've got several slides of the condition of the interior and exterior. From what I could tell, the property used to be owned by the neighbor, and I think they just never paid the taxes and let it go. From what I understand, the economic development doesn't have a current plan for the property. We are going to work with fire so they can do some training drills before it's demolished. That's just a photo from Google Maps of property looks like. And so we'll just demolish it and grade it, straw and seed it. So that's kind of just showing that's from the corridor. It is elevated above the corridor.
Commission members?
I'll move approval, based on this condition.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Prescott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is Downtown Flats, Mass Mutual signage.
I have to.
Seeking final approval. Note that Isabella is going to recuse herself. This is at 1948 Carter Road. This was approved with a condition that I'm sure Shannon will talk to us about. That the signage not to exceed the allowable square feet of second floor tenants. Kathy Clark. Oh, Kathy Clark. You swear, do you swear, how do you do that? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good morning.
Morning. Still morning?
Good morning. If it gets.
Sorry, you've been here for a while.
Yeah,
Huh?
We get over it.
Should I start then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so basically, we're looking to install the Mass Mutual sign, which is 3 foot by 25 foot and an eighth. Again, the code only allows 12 square foot for that second sign on the building. So we are seeking a variance of 66.2 square feet.
That's it right there. There you go. So I don't understand the condition.
So Mass Mutual will be on the second floor,
Right.
and Brew Dog is on the ground
Right.
floor. So, yeah, I
So it
basically
says-
say, yeah, you're only allowed 12 square foot for second floor
We'll let
business.
Shannon tell us.
Okay.
I mean, it's a nice sign. I don't see the
Yes.
problem.
No, I don't
So-
either.
So I don't understand it,
Generally
even if
speaking.
it's over.
Sorry, Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Planner. So generally speaking, only ground story tenants can have signage on the building. Anything above that, second story tenants or higher can have maybe a 12 square foot sign, so the variance is required. Xavier reviewed the sign package here. So he could probably explain the variance, but that's the variance request. It's because they're not a ground story tenant.
Yes, I don't really have much else to add to
Wait.
that there, just that they're, not a ground story tenant, this is stated.
So, but I still don't understand the condition, and we're gonna approve it. We're giving a
What is the
variance.
condition?
Yeah, Madam
It doesn't
Chair, I
make
could
any-
speak to that.
Yeah.
This is Dan Schinkel with the Downtown Flats Design Review Committee. The
Right.
condition was essentially, and I have to apologize, this is my fault, just not realizing the intricacy of the signage code here. So we didn't have a full review from code and zoning before they went in front of the committee. So the committee was just,
Makes sense.
and credit to the committee, they already knew that intricacy of a second story tenant. And they just said, hey, make sure that gets reviewed. This is the result of the review was presented quite nicely by Kathy. It's at 66.2 square feet. The committee would, just wanted to make sure that the proper variance was sought, and that's what they're doing today.
Okay,
I can clarify.
okay, got it. So we
Got it.
just need to say that we approve the variance, it's context, whatever we need. to
I'll
say.
take a swing.
So this condition is kind of contradictory, so I apologize for the miscommunication, but yeah, you just need a variance.
Okay,
That's
go ahead.
required. Do you have the variance number?
It's a 66.2 square feet.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the Mass Mutual sign as presented with the caveat that the variance requested of 66.2 square feet be included in this approval.
I second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Squire.
Yes.
Motion carries. I really like the sign.
I do too.
Thanks. There you go. I do. It looks like the Cleveland Foundation sign. That's why I was just kidding, but it does. All right, the next item is a billboard installation, unnumbered ordinance at 1146 Old River Road. David, although you were in the commission, we have to swear you in. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury.
I do.
Okay.
You should have an honorary.
Do
employee.
staff have comments? The director is gonna speak first, so we'll let her go first on this one.
All right, so good morning. This case before you is a part of a legal settlement related to Irish Town Bend. So this is one of the sites that identified that the city agrees with, the partners of the Irish Town Bend project agree with, as well as Mr. George, the applicant. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Shannon will proceed with the technical presentation, but we agree with the citing of the billboard for the purposes that it is an entertainment area and that we desire for the Irish Town Bend Park project to move forward.
Good morning, Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Planner. So I apologize, I don't have a presentation today. This totally, I missed it. I apologize.
Fine.
But
missed it too until yesterday, Michael called me.
But he'll go through the presentation, but again, this is part of the court settlement. But this location is zoned downtown residential, so they do need variances. And I will read those into the record for you so that that is a part of your approval process. Remembering that you guys have the ability to be more strict or less strict based on design compatibility, minimum variation, and things of that sort. So obviously the billboard in a downtown residential design review district is prohibited. They need the variance for use. It's first permitted in a general or semi-industry district. The billboard sign panel shall not exceed 820 square feet in area. The maximum height of the billboard above the roadway surface, which is granted, shall be 50 feet. This is going to be oriented towards the shoreway. The base of the property of the sign will be at this location, but it will actually be facing the shoreway. And then, so obviously it's going to have to be taller than 50 feet. They did receive approval from ODOT and the Scenic Byway. And then there's a billboard separation that they need the variance for more than 750 square feet, or less than 750 feet, excuse me. So those are the 4 variances that they need here for the use, the size of the sign, the maximum height of the sign, and the distance to another billboard on the shore. And I'll take any questions, but I'll turn it over for David.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say a few things. I handed this out because new billboards are not like what people have complained about in the past. And the director and I, before it went up on Harry Buffalo, we met with the neighbors, and Dimitri, who actually has a unit that faced right towards the billboard. We went up into his unit and he told me what his concerns were. And I said, well, you know, because of the louvers and the directional LEDs, you're not going to really notice it. And it's self-limiting. And as far as the brightness, as it gets darker, they get less bright. And I said, once it goes up, why don't we have a cocktail? So we met, we had a cocktail, and he goes, David, everything you told me was true. He goes, no one's complained in the building. So the new technology in billboards, and now they're doing 3-dimensional technology, is pretty cool. The pole is 150 feet high. The billboard itself is 14 by 48. 14 by 48. And where it resides, and it's hard to tell, and I'm going to use this one because some of them are off a little bit. It's right in the seating area. There's a door right here. It's right there, and it's 8 feet in diameter, is the size of the pole. And it's there because over to the south of that, there's all the oil grease traps and oil separators and stuff like that. So this is not a presentation we put together. It was what was done by the sign company originally. So I'm sorry for the graphics you see today. It's not what you're used to, I'm sure. It's not what I'm used to for sure. As Shannon said, the scenic byway, which is pretty important. They don't allow a lot of these things. It's coming from a scenic byway into a scenic byway, but it's not going to be observed by the scenic byway. And there were a lot of letters of support, including the administration, flash forward, and on and on and on. So I think that's good. Do I control the slides or do you?
You have the remote.
The remote, you can go forward or back. If you want, I can zoom in for you.
I don't think they.
So this is what you're gonna see. This is how you're gonna see the billboard.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm gonna see it every day. Because that's how I drive.
Is it, just curious, the billboard that low to the freeways, are there any like safety issues that you've seen?
No, ODOT's approved that.
They have,
So
so-
there's the technical part of it, which I don't
Sort
understand.
of the,
They've gone through it.
they have, so no one's not gonna cause accidents.
Yeah, before
Just wanted that on the
the
record.
city
No
and the
accidents.
Georges kind of all agreed.
Okay.
It went through these kind of things and this is 2 out of the 3 that we need to do and we're a little closer every day.
Question, is the color selected, would you be opposed to a silver instead of a black that would, like on the previous slide, like to me, if you go back to the one before, like in the flats, like the idea of like using a silver or sky color would make this less visible at the ground level.
It's painted, so I don't think there's a problem.
Do you agree? I mean, for me, if you made the whole thing silver, blue, something that would like.
It sort of looks like
you
Cleveland
won't
90% of
see
the
it.
time.
It would look like Cleveland 90% of the time. You wouldn't really notice it at the ground level.
Yeah, if you make that part of the
Would they be
motion.
fine with that? Would you?
Yeah, I
be
think
okay
that's a
with
good
that?
idea.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good with it.
And I feel.
And then I have to paint the pole.
Just paint the pole, or just buy a pole that's silver. Buy a silver pole.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
As Mr. Bowen noted, there were 3 letters of support, Flats Forward, the partners from the Irish Town Bend Project, Board, Metro Parks, etc.
Oh, good.
So everyone wants this to move forward so that we can, really move forward with Irish Town.
And do you think also the whole thing, even including the trim, like it shows like a black frame, is that just how you rendered it? We wouldn't see a
That's how it's
black
rendered.
edge either?
You wouldn't see a
You wouldn't
black
see it
edge.
like- Okay, good, okay.
As I said, this is not our work.
Mr. Fluker took copious notes of your details.
I just wanted to say that they don't need the variance for the size, it's just for the digital use at this.
Digital use, okay,
Because it's
And the height.
672 square feet and the height above the road.
and the height above the room, okay.
Okay.
Just for the record, I know that there's been negotiations between the administration and the property owner on Irish Town Bend about billboard locations. I'm not in favor of this location. I think that it makes the downtown lake skyline, beautiful view, look like the Valley View Bridge. So I know that there's an agreement for billboards, but I just don't think this is the right spot for it, so.
Thank you. That's it with the presentation? Oh, I'm sorry.
But to that note, I would tell you, we've been looking for billboard locations.
It's been 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah. That's why the building's still standing, the billboards are still standing, we're still looking for the 3rd, so it's very, very difficult.
Yeah,
It's been a cumbersome process.
we just haven't had a billboard conversation in a long time.
I know.
I mean, to that, there was outreach to me about a billboard near the airport in Ward 17, and I have said I had no issues with it. So, and I haven't received any communication since that, so I don't know.
Yeah,
if
so there's a lot of money.
Or of, so.
Is it the FAA or
No.
ODOT?
It's a different thing.
It's a different proposal
Oh.
that you received, but this is through the court situation and myself as well as Suzanne and the neighborhood planners and the administration have been searching and building out, at least we've already gone through probably at least 30 or more sites through the city. I mean, our billboard restrictions are very restrictive. And so that speaks to the lack of locations for where anything new can go. And the billboard market is dominated by your large player like Lamar, who has about 85% of the share of existing.
Wow.
And so any new billboards, it's very restrictive. And so that's part of the process of why it's been so difficult for us to find these sites.
We've been meeting every Friday since the beginning.
So I just wanted to give you some process information.
Where's the railroad of billboards?
But I assume that's also that you're not looking outside of downtown. Because if you were looking outside of downtown, there are many more locations.
We have looked outside of
You
downtown in the city of Cleveland, and then
Even
a couple
along
of places outside of the city of Cleveland control.
Even like on the freeway, there's a building.
Yes, on the freeway.
There's no
So there's
interest
a
in
whole lot of, it has to go through
Right.
not just the city process, but.
But there's no sites along the freeway?
Not within, so there's so many already there across Cleveland. The problem we're running into where there is land that may be zoned industrial, they're within 500 feet of an interchange and ODOT's not gonna.
Or they're too close to another billboard.
Or too close to another building.
Saturated for buildings.
Yeah.
Wow.
By one company.
All right, let's go before I have a headache.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'm gonna take a stab at this. The motion, I move to approve, the billboard is presented with the following variances. The digital use,
Wait, can I have my color in there? Not present.
oh, I'm gonna
Oh,
get
you're
there,
gonna get
but
there.
these are the variances, and I was
Okay,
gonna do with the
okay.
color. I have process.
Okay, I'm here.
The variances include a digital use, and the height above finished grade of 150 feet. And, with the condition made by Madam Chair of considering using silver in lieu of the black illustrated in the presentation.
And located in the
In the location?
location,
Oh, yes, in the location.
That's present.
the design of the district.
Oh, okay. And also, its location located in the downtown, Latz area,
In
residential district.
Outside of industrial.
Oh my goodness, you guys need to start writing this stuff down.
Yeah.
I'll sit down. This is.
You got what you need?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I second.
Call the roll.
One more.
One more bullet, 2 more bullets, 3 more. You get a bullet, I get a bullet.
Anthony,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Craig Scott.
Yes.
Slide.
No.
Motion carries. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
We'll
Shannon.
see you.
I'm so happy it spread so much joy and laughter.
Take care, David.
Special presentation, public art. This is Destination Cleveland Badge 3 sculpture. This is at the green space at Huron and East Forge. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer the penalty of perjury.
Yes, I do.
You should get a pass and an all lifetime swearing.
A lifetime swearing in pass, maybe at least for this year.
Yeah, for this year. Destination Cleveland is public. No, I'm just kidding.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alex Harnitz with Destination Cleveland. You've seen this project at least once before. 2 of these locations were approved. 1 we needed to move. This is the badge-shaped sculpture. We've worked along with MoCap and a couple of other city divisions to come up with a solution for these that will require them not to be affixed to a foundation. Essentially, we're making them extremely heavy by filling their base with concrete ballast. So that gives us a lot more flexibility in moving them over their 3-year contract and in locating them. But it eliminated the location on Mall C because they'd be far too heavy to go on the roof of the convention center. So the location that we're proposing as an alternate is across from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in that city-owned green space.
As of right now, the spare script sign is there for the women's Final Four. As you can see, we've used this location twice now, last year during NBA All-Star, and then right now. We've sort of figured out where the perfect beauty shot across from Rocket Mortgage is. And so when this sign is removed next week, we'd like to place the badge there. Exactly same site, same location, orientation, and leave it there until about this time next year. These badge sculptures are with us on a 3-year lease, and we intend to move them annually based on locations of big events and different sort of photo opportunities that we've got lined up. So it's essentially equidistant from East 4th and Ontario, about 25 or 30 feet off of that Huron Road sidewalk. That's just a look from East 4th Street. Questions, concerns?
There were the 2 conditions I saw, but they seem pretty straightforward. Review by city and getting licenses and permitting, obviously. Those are pretty obvious. So.
I guess it's on the motion.
Guy today.
Madam Chair, move to approve Destination Cleveland Badge number 3 sculpture for final approval with the following conditions: that they review with the staff engineer to determine slab, stone, or other footers required, which I don't think will be, and all applicable licensing and permitting to be completed prior to installation.
And I second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Swett.
Yes.
Motion carries. Can I tell you how excited I am for the Final Four tonight? I'm going.
Your voice? Man, you're one of few who can afford it too.
I did not pay.
Oh, okay.
I will be staffing the plaza.
I'm so excited. I can't tell you how excited I am.
She was
Um,
the first women's basketball.
We have 2 mandatory referrals. Ordinance number 261-2024. This is designating Jesse Owens' house as a Cleveland landmark. Carl, we do not need to swear you in, obviously.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Carl Brunges, Cleveland Landmark staff. We are very excited to be here today after a very long wait. This has been a wish list item for a long time. And the homeowner reached out to the Cleveland Restoration Society about the designation, and I'd like to introduce Margaret Land from Cleveland Restoration Society.
If I swear you in, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
And as she has been working with the homeowner, she will be giving a presentation today. We are fully in support. They got really excited. This is happening.
I like it.
Yes.
It's gonna be great.
Thank you. Thank you, commission members, for being here today. As Carl said, we're very excited. So the house is located at 2178 East 100th Street. It was constructed between 1897 and 98 as a 2-family home in the American Foursquare layout with colonial revival features. Permit records show that the building was converted from a 2-family to a 3-family in 1947, and then to a 4-family in 1954. And the certificate of occupancy in January 1963 shows the 4 suites, which is consistent with the building use today. The house is significant because of its association with the Olympic athlete, Jesse Owens. Owens was the youngest of 10 children, and the family moved to Cleveland in 1922. They're documented as having rented several homes across the city before moving into 2178 East 100th in 1934. During this time, Owens attended Fairmount Junior High and then East Technical High School, where his athletic ability was becoming very apparent. Pictured here is the Owens family on the steps of the house on East 100th Street. In May of 1935, Owens gained international recognition for setting 3 world records at the Big Ten Championship meet in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And these events made Owen a favorite for the 1936 Olympics. So this is the time when the family was living in that house on East 100th. That same month, in May of 1935, Owens also had a personal milestone where he married longtime girlfriend Minnie Solomon. The couple were married by the Reverend Ernest Hall of East Mount Zion Baptist Church inside the home of Minnie Solomon. That house was a 2-family house located at 9118 Beckman Avenue. And records show that the couple seemed to vacillate living between the 2 houses, between Beckman and East 100th. The house on Beckman was demolished in 2004. In the summer of 1936, Jesse Owens traveled to Berlin, Germany to compete in the Olympics. He took 4 gold medals during the games, cementing him as one of the greatest athletes of all time. And also, we like to note important moment in the history because these wins by a black athlete were in direct contradiction to Hitler's propaganda at the time. While Jesse was competing in the Olympics, there are a lot of newspaper articles talking with the family pictured here. They're in the home on East 100th Street, anxiously awaiting his return. When Owens does return to Cleveland in that summer of 36, he's greeted by fanfare and parades. And after that return, he and Minnie moved. They had a child in 1933, so they moved with their daughter permanently into her family home back on Beckman after this return. Owens was really hopeful that his Olympic success would result in a lucrative career in Cleveland, but unfortunately he was still met with prejudice and racism that prevented that. All throughout this time between high school and college and competition, he did work at Alonzo Wright's gas station at East 93rd and Cedar, and parts of, that building is still there. It's not a gas station anymore, but the building is still there. And so the Owens family remained in Cleveland for a short period of time as he was looking for work, and then eventually moved to Detroit and Chicago. They went on to have 2 more children during their marriage. But so this is why, we're so excited to be here to designate this house. It is one of the standing tangible reminders to his time in Cleveland. And I think it's so special to be able to designate a space that speaks to someone who's known for their athletic contributions on this national level, but also the family piece of things, understanding that, he met his wife here in Cleveland, they lived here with their daughter, and having that, that piece of history with us is very, very special. So happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So any questions? Someone else besides
I'll move.
August?
Motion to approve the designation as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. For
I
all
need
your
share
work.
to Margaret. Do they have any plans in renovating this structure?
So the homeowner is working with the Cleveland Restoration Society. He's interested in doing starting with some exterior renovations to bring back some of that history. We have an architect working on it. And then there's been other talk. There's the Friends of Jesse Owens. I don't know if they're an actual 501c3. I'm meeting with them in a few weeks. and support from Pastor Cash at East Mount Zion, should the building be, repurposed into something more of a historic museum or something in the future, but the homeowner right now is preparing to do some exterior remodels, so.
Thank you. There's another mandatory referral.
I have to recuse for this
Okay.
one and the next
You mean, and then all of the next ones are all administrative approvals. This is the only one. This is ordinance number 3332024, authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to issue a permit to UC City Center LLC. This is to encroach in the public right of way of Chester Avenue. Rick, I saw you online. How'd you magically come in the room?
I want.
You want. You just were waiting till your time. Go ahead.
Thank you and good morning. Rick Switowski, Manager, Engineering Construction. We have before you today is asking authorization for the Director of Capital Projects to issue a permit to UC City Center LLC to encroach in the public right of way by installing, using, and maintaining a parking monument. Do the next slide, Mike. Next one. Next one. Let's skip that. We'll show you where it's at first. We'll come back to this one. This is on Chester Avenue between 105th and Stokes. Basically, it's putting up a monument sign because that'll be the entrance to the public parking garage for Circle Square. Right to the right of that is where the Artesian building is at. Basically, this provides a signage that will tell the public that there's parking down the road over there. We back up one slide, Mike. Go back to there you go. The sign itself, apologize, that came out small here. That's we have to work with the drawing we had. But the dimensions of that sign is it will be 9 feet high to the very peak. The big rectangle itself is about 7 inches high. The width is 4 feet 8 inches. And when you look at it from the side, it's about 1 foot wide. The colors, you can't tell real well. If anybody wants to see this one may give a better palette of the colors that will be used for the Circle Square parking monument. You go over to Mike. That's location of at that point when this picture was taken, the building was not complete, but now is. So that's basically where the monument sign will be placed. We do have consent from Councilmember Conwell, and I will take any questions if you have.
The whole package came before the planning commission.
I will move approval.
Motion and second, call the roll.
Anthony.
Yes.
Hooker.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Craig Scott.
Yes.
Slack.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Motion. Good, carries. Go ahead.
To Rick, when's the city proposing to start infrastructure? Are there infrastructure improvements considered in and around Circle Square?
Oh, there have been ongoing ones. We had contract 1A already, which we helped do the streetscaping areas over there. Contract 1B is underway at this point in time. And I can't recall exact scope of it. I'd be happy to get it for you. And there's a final contract 2 that'll be coming out next year.
Okay.
So the city's invested probably close to $7 million, I think, in infrastructure.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
that's good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Their administrative approvals, take a look. I do have a question on the first one. Are we repealing this because it's not moving forward?
This one is moving forward.
No, I mean, it's repealing the TIF. Does that mean the project's not moving forward?
The project is moving forward. They had to redo their CBA. And so now it is coming forward with a revised version.
So we'll see a new version eventually. This is repealing the old one. That's fine.
Let me pull up the.
It's okay. I just wanted to make sure the project was still moving forward.
It's moving forward.
Okay.
It's constructed actually.
Okay. Take a look at the rest of them. There are 5 administrative approvals. The last one having to do with the form-based code.
I will move approval of the administrative approvals.
Second.
Just as a note, I would like to abstain from number 5, for the record.
Yeah, I guess I should too.
Yeah. Do we need to?
You don't have to, because it's like a slate, I guess.
Okay,
All right,
okay,
thank you.
okay. As long as it's on the record, I'm fine with it. Motion and a second, call the roll?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Motion carried. Do we have a director's report?
Yeah, quick one. Thank you, everybody. Go to the next slide. So this is just a quick slide to note CPC in the news. Since you all voted on the form-based code last meeting, there were several reports by multiple media channels about this. Lots of excitement. Moving into the 21st century with our zoning. The last one came out fairly recently. There was also one yesterday where the RTA aims to rebuild Cleveland, Cuyahoga County with a network of bus rapid transit lines, referring to the RTA's work in applying for transportation grants for Loring Avenue from Homestead all the way to the city, as well as the Broadway Avenue potential BRT line. We're excited for the regional network of transportation. Next slide, please. Just some quick updates. So Public Square, some fanfare last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, the mayor came out and did the flag wave to lift the concrete barriers up off the square. So now the concrete barriers are placed at Superior for construction, and there's free flowing between the two sides. It will start after the total eclipse, April 8th, so no construction until then. But we're excited to see Public Square move forward, and hopefully it'll be done by the end of this year. State of the City address by the mayor was last Thursday, where he talked a lot about public safety, education, and other aspects. 2 quick things. There are some upcoming conferences, including the APA Ohio Planning and Zoning Conference on April 26th. Since you're all commission members, we actually have funds set aside if you do want to attend a 1-day workshop. So if you're interested, you can work with us. The whole Board of Zoning Appeals Board, for example, is attending. For those who are interested in some of those topics, planning staff will present for 2 seminars. Dan Schinkel will be a part of a panel for the North Coast Lakefront, a vision for all Clevelanders. And then Adam Davenport, Callie Mersman, and others will be talking about the Franklin Avenue roundabouts. And it's called the Building Community Roundabouts, a deep dive into controversial roadway projects. So I want to lift up the staff for their good work and the fact that they're representing Cleveland for our state and our regions. That's it. So if you do want to go to the conference, just email me and stuff.
Okay, we good?
Thanks, everybody.
Did he still use it?